Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. I've got a guest on the line. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hey, I'm Andy from Low Season. Um, a little bit about me. I've been in the band for a long time. I've been playing music for a really long time. Yeah, I'm here in St. Pete, Florida, and born and raised. Lived in Gainesville for a little while, but otherwise lived here the whole time and been playing in bands for a long time. I'm pretty old.
Right on. So let's talk about the band. When did Low Season start?
Man, I think it's been about it's been over 9 years that we've had this band, and yeah, a long time.
Have you been, were you an original member? Have you always been in the band?
I am the only original member. And I'll tell you something that's funny. I just watched your the one with you and Jim from No
Yeah,
Loves.
yeah.
And he said he's Jim Putney from No Loves. They formed the band in St. Pete, and he's the only original member.
Yep.
Well, I'm the only original member of Low Season formed in St. Pete, but he's in Nashville now, and I'm still here. But yeah, so we started off with myself, Eric, Todd, and Chad. And Todd was just the singer. Do you want to know all this?
Yeah.
All right. So Todd was just a singer. I've known Todd forever and Eric. And Todd and Chad were in a band called Fowler's Bluff, which was kind of like it was like alternative, like a little bit radio friendly. And then he was like, hey, we're kind of sick of playing like mellow music. Would you want to? Chad's a really heavy drummer. He used to play metal. Would you want to start a band? And Eric and I were playing. Have you ever heard of the band, the Tim Version out of Tampa?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, really? Oh, you'd like them. They're probably like one of the biggest punk bands from Tampa ever.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and Russ moved to the singer of that band. He moved to Seattle. So Sean, who's the drummer, he was kind of playing in a bunch of bands. So Eric and I asked him if he wanted to play, and we were playing in Tampa, and Eric didn't want to drive there anymore. And so Todd was like, "Hey, if you play with us, I'll sing, I'll write all the lyrics." And I never really liked writing the lyrics. And he's like, and Todd's a good singer, so I was like, "Hell yeah!" And Eric was like immediately like, "Yes." So that we told Sean like, "Hey man, we're gonna do it in St. Pete," and Eric's sick of driving to Tampa, and it was hard to go practice with him. It was like rush hour. I don't know if you ever driven through Tampa in rush hour, but it's a nightmare. And we had to
Yeah.
go by the skate park, like that's where you practice. It was just a nightmare to get there.
I mean, that's like no traffic, what, about 30, 45-minute drive, but with traffic could be upwards of 2 hours, right?
Well, an hour because
Okay.
I mean, yeah, no traffic. It's about 35 minutes, but yeah, the traffic can add a long time. Yeah, it's terrible, and just doing it wears on. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
and we would go there, and we'd only have like 2 hours, and it just seemed like we weren't getting very far, and we were driving far. So yeah, we started the band over in St. Pete, and then we started playing. And I remember the first, like one of the first times Eric and I had this riff, and it was Red Lights. You know that song, right?
Yep.
And
Oh, yeah.
Todd just started singing like immediately, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then we practiced for a while, and then we played some shows, and we went on for a long time. And Todd and I always wanted to like do stuff, and Chad was a little bit like that. Eric never wanted to really do anything. He kind of just wanted to jam and record, and he didn't even really like playing shows, so we kept doing it. Yeah, he's still like, that's the reason he's not in the band anymore. He likes playing music, he just doesn't want to play shows. So then we played for a long time. We recorded a couple EPs, and then Todd was finally like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm a dad, my daughter's getting to this age, and I'm busy at work. And we were like, yeah, that's cool. I used to sing in other bands before he was in the band. So I was like, if you guys want to keep going, I'll sing. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. So we started the 3 piece, and then we recorded the full length, which you heard. And that's kind of like, and then that's kind of when we got, actually, oddly enough, I was a really good singer, and he wrote good lyrics too. But for some reason after that, maybe it was because of the little bit of exposure that you gave us, it kind of picked up after that when we became a 3 piece.
Yeah.
Wrote a full length album rather than, we had 2 EPs before that. And Todd was more of like a rock and roll singer, you know, like he had like a almost like a Pearl Jamish voice, which was
Yeah.
good, but it was kind of a weird mix. And I think my voice is more just straightforward, like kind of punk rockish, you know. And maybe that just fit better. I don't know what it was, honestly. I don't know why, but then it started picking up, and then we started playing shows, and then just recently, it's funny because we got Jeremy in the band about a year ago now, and we didn't want it. Like I saw him at a show, and at what was that band? Wilhelm Scream Show, and then the guy from Lawrence Arms, you know, when Brendan plays acoustic,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
he was hammered. It's so funny every time I see that guy's, you know, he's playing hammered. I don't know how he does it, but
And he's incredible, right?
yeah, it's good. I mean, you know how his voice is. He doesn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. He's kind of like that nasally voice, so I don't think it matters too much. And it's just his lyrics are great though, I think. But yeah, I saw Jeremy, and he was like he really wanted to play. I Eric and I were in a band. There's so much like different bands because we're all in the same area. Eric and I were in a band before years ago, like 20 something years ago, called Enemy of the Month. And Jeremy and Chris, who's now our drummer, were in a band called Crooked Edge. And we used to play with them. And they were good, you know, and they were a lot better than us, actually. And they had a big following, and they would have us open up. And it was fun. They were more like real clean, like real tight, you know, ripping solos and really good vocals and stuff. But so anyways, Jeremy was like, he was like, he would text me like all the time, like, hey man, you want to jam? And I'd tell Eric and Chad, I'm like, man, you know, we don't want another guy in the band. It's hard enough with three people, you know, not because he wasn't good, he's good, but it's, you know, it's just kind of a pain in the ass. The more people in the band, the more the pain in the ass. I mean, you know, I mean, you just
Oh
got
yeah.
a guy. So then finally, I thought, you know, Chad and I were like, well, we want to start playing out, and Eric did not at all. So I said to Jeremy, I'm like, hey man, like I kind of gave him an ultimatum. I'm like, hey, you can play second guitar, rhythm guitar, and I know he also was playing bass, and he still does in another punk rock cover band, which you would love. They play like Good Riddance and Green Day and Blank and all sorts of cool stuff. Rise Again, Strung Out, and so I knew he could play bass. So I was like, when we go tour, will you play bass? Because Eric doesn't want to play bass, and Jeremy was like, yeah, absolutely, I just want to play. So then that's when the one time, you know, like I told you, we played with Second Self up in Jacksonville, and that was just me, Jeremy, and Chad. Jeremy played bass because Eric didn't want to go. So yeah, so it was kind of funny because like we really were like, nah, we don't want another guy. And then when he came in the band, we were like, ah, it's really good. He added a lot. He added a lot to the he plays some crazy riffs over like the kind of simple stuff that I do, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of it you haven't heard yet. I think you're gonna dig it. He added a lot to a lot of the old songs that you know. They're kind of different now. And so anyways, yeah, so then it was us four, and then we were playing, and then when we did that Tennessee run where you got sick and you were supposed to play with us,
Yeah.
Eric and Chad just didn't want to go. And so Jeremy, they were gonna go, something happened. Uh, but Jeremy got his old drummer to fill in, Chris, the guy from Crooked Edge, who's fantastic. He's the sickest drummer you'll ever hear. And he lives in St. Augustine, which is about 3.5 hours from here. And we were like, how are we going to make this work? And dude, he just practiced the songs at home. Like we gave him the set list, and he just, you know, on electric drums.
Yeah.
And we had two practices. He came down from one week. Oh, I'm sorry. And also, Jeremy got another guy, Brett, to play bass, who's now, so these two guys are now in the band. So it's me, Jeremy, Brett, and Chris. And he got another guy. He's like, dude, this guy's sick at bass. Like, let's have him. I'm like, yeah, like whoever wants to do it, man, let's go. And yeah, we had two practices before that run, and they were like 4 hours apiece. And that was it, man. The rest is history. Like after we got back, Chris was like, dude, I'd like to do it full time. Like, we'll make it work.
Well, you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to touch on. You said that you didn't or don't like to write lyrics. Is that still the case? Or have you taken over that duty now with the situation?
Well, yeah, I had to until I quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, man, I hated school so much that I'm such a baby about it. But like, you know, I feel like the lyrics are like, 'cause like you got this song and then you got to write the lyrics, and you want them to be good. So it's like it's not easy, you know what I mean? So it's like So yeah, now I write the lyrics, and it's getting easier for me. Like I wrote Apocalypse Meow, and I wrote Dead Inside, and I wrote I'm Being Erased, and they turned out good. So I was like, I got a lot more confidence from that, especially when
Yeah.
people were like, hey, I like the lyrics, and I'm like, oh, cool, because Todd was a really good lyric writer. Like he wrote good lyrics. So when I wrote the lyrics and I was like, oh, these are pretty good. So I'm a lot more confident now. You know what I need is, like I was telling the guys last night, is I need a subject. If I can have a subject, then I'm that's like 90% for me. If you give me something where I'm like, yes, I'm gonna write the song about that, then it's a lot easier.
It's
So
funny that we discovered each other through like some fucking punk rock community on Facebook. And I don't know if you remember, but I'm 90% sure that the way we found each other was I was promoting that I was going to do a comp
yeah,
and I needed songs for it. And you sent me I'm Being Erased. No, not I'm Being Erased. You sent me
Dead
fuck.
Inside,
Yes.
Dead Inside, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you sent me Dead Inside
yeah,
and I put it on the comp. I'm pretty sure it was my Fuck This Year Sucked comp.
yeah, yeah. I
The
think
the
that's what it
the
was.
2020 comp.
Yeah, the COVID crap. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I
fast
think it
forward
was
3 years later and
Jim from No Loves. I think Chad said, "Hey, I think yeah, you're right. It was on. I think it was like almost like the Florida hardcore or something. But yeah, it was on a Facebook group.
yeah,
You were just looking for bands, and Chad was like, "Hey, I'm going to send. What song should we send?" I was like, "Well, I think Dead Inside is probably the best one. That or Melting Makeup." And he sent you that, and you're like, "Oh, it's going to be on." I'm like, "Oh, cool," because I think that was like the second comp we've ever been on because
yeah,
man, we didn't. It's funny because the guys that are in the band now, they're like, how are you guys a band for 9 years and like you didn't do anything? I'm like, because they didn't really want to do anything. Like we played St. Pete in Tampa, and one time we played in Gainesville. That was the only time we ever played out of town.
yeah.
And then Todd was still in the band then. We still had Todd in the band. That was that long ago. And I was like, man, I just want to play out of town. And so, but that's how we found out about it. I think it was Jim from No Loves because he knew Chad.
If somebody asks me, well, what's Low Season sound like? I say, well, they're a fucking kick-ass band, but if you like Face to Face, you're not gonna be let down. Do you do you have any other bands that you can compare yourself to, or in your opinion, am I way off when I say that you guys sound like Face to Face?
No, I would say because a lot of people have said that. And the funny thing is, man, if you asked me as a kid, what was the album I listened to most ever in my life, I would say Don't Face to Face, Don't Turn Away is for sure it. I
Yeah,
mean, I listen to that album so much, it's kind of silly. So no, that's in my brain. That's the kind of music that I love. So and that song, dude, I almost think that I was like, I told Eric, I was like, I think I want to write like a total face to facey type song, and I have this riff, and that's how it came out, dude. It sounds exactly like old school face to face. I mean, and I love that shit. Like that's what I love. So that's like not an insult to me at all, you
we
know.
got a tour coming up, so
Yeah.
Reckless Threat, my band, our first ever trip to Florida. I've personally
Yeah.
played in Florida a ton in previous bands, but this is Reckless Threat's first trip to Florida, and we're bringing along Mortars with us, and
Is
we're
that
doing three.
just
I'm
one
sorry.
guy? Is that just one guy?
Yeah, well, Mortars is a full band.
Uh-huh.
It's Have you heard of Rough Dreams?
Oh yeah, no, I know that. I know him. I'm
Okay,
friends with him. The guy in Rough Dreams. We played with him here.
yeah,
And not the main guy, Jake, but the other guy. I don't remember his name.
Chris.
He's the head guy. He's the lead singer in Mortars, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So Mortars is a three-piece band. It's Chris Suggs,
yeah,
who's the co-lead singer and lead guitar player in Rough Dreams. He's the lead singer, lead guitar player in Mortars,
right.
and then Will is the drummer, and Chris Krager is the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, um, Will has recently moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, so I don't think he's going to continue being in the band because that's like a 4-hour drive to Knoxville.
Yeah.
Um, and Chris Krager works at Old Smoky Moonshine and stays very busy. So going, on a 5-day road trip is not in his wheelhouse. So when I asked Chris if Mortars wanted to tag along, he was like, "Well, I would love to do it acoustic and
Yeah.
come along with you guys and jam." And we actually have some surprises. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I think you'll dig it.
Oh yeah.
Um, but Chris is going to be joining us on stage for a couple surprises.
Oh cool.
Um, so Chris is just he's gonna open each night, do like 15 to 20 minutes of solo Mortar stuff, and
Cool.
Mortars is kick ass, dude. It's like a
Yeah, I've
mixture of
listened.
pop. Yeah, it's like
I
a
like
little
it.
bit like Americana meets Hot Water Music meets Gaslight Anthem meets
Mhm.
Social D. So it's like Americana punk, even like a little folk punk at times.
Yeah.
But Chris, man, he's a fucking killer songwriter, killer guitar player, killer singer, great dude. So we're really looking forward to it. So yeah, those shows, it's going to be Mortars and of course Low Season and Reckless Threat. And
Yeah.
then on our way down, we're playing one show without you guys to get to Florida. We're playing on Thursday night in Gainesville, Georgia,
Oh yeah.
with us, Mortars, a band called Sweet Meteor of Death, a band called The Carolyn, and
I know
uh,
that.
and Billy Bats and the Made Men.
And I've heard of them.
Billy
I've heard of
Bats and the
them.
Made Men are the fucking shit. I think every episode of this podcast I bring them up.
I gotta check them out. I don't think I've listened to them.
Yeah, they're an Atlanta band. They've been a band for about 5 years, if I'm not wrong. But Brody, their singer, is 21.
Huh.
Andy, his Brody's brother, the drummer Andy, I believe is 15, maybe 16.
No way.
But like I said, they've been a band for 5 years.
Right.
So when they started, Brody was 16, Andy was 10, and I might be a little bit off, but like Andy was in elementary school when they started,
Right.
and the
That's
kid is,
amazing.
dude, this kid is fucking incredible. Now, I've told him this to his face. I've told his dad this. I've told Brody this. I'm saying it right now on this podcast. That kid's gonna be a cripple by the age of 25 because he fucking plays like he's shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
Like that kid, he flails. I mean, he's going to be a cripple by the age of 25. You just have to see him play. I'll send you a video.
Yeah.
But so young drummer that Andy's already fucking 10 out of 10 as a drummer. Like
That's
you
great.
watch the kid and you're like, I've never seen someone his age have chops, much less have chops and also no technique. Like you said, Saturday we're going up to Tampa. We're playing Hooch and Hive,
Yeah.
and that shows with the same three, Mortars, Low Season, Reckless Threat, and a Tampa band called Big Sad that you guys are friends with.
Yeah. And have you ever heard of Claremel?
Sounds familiar.
They've done like a split with Hot Water Music. They're on No
Oh,
ID Records out of Gainesville.
that's why. Yeah, that's why it sounds familiar. Yeah.
So there's two guys from Claremel and Big Sad.
Oh, very cool.
So if you like Claremel, they sound similar to Claremel. So yeah, they're good, man. They're unique. It's I don't know if you know who Dave Decker is, but he was in Claremel and Watson, and he does some solo stuff. But he's got a unique voice.
I've heard of. I definitely know Watson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds familiar.
that's pretty cool. But yeah, they were him and Richie who are in. I'm trying to think who else is in Big. Oh, and my buddy. They have a new bass player I don't know, but my buddy Sean is playing drums. Who's the original drummer of the first Low Season? Like when
Oh,
remember the guy I told you we were in Tampa?
yeah,
Eric, we quit, and then he's also the drummer of Tim Version, who I told you about earlier. That was like one of the bigger bands in Tampa. All their albums are on No Idea. You know No Idea Records,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so Big Sad's cool. Yeah, they're good, man. They're a Tampa band, so it should be a good show. The guy gave me a little shit. The guy Dean that runs the show, that runs the Hooch and Hive. He's like, I don't really like booking bands on Friday, that are playing in St. Pete on Friday and then Tampa on Saturday. And I was like, I get it, man, but look, no one, and I mean no one that I know, leaves St. Pete to go to Tampa to see us, man. So
Yeah,
and he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I was like, and no one that I know in Tampa leaves Tampa to come see us in St. Pete.
yeah.
So,
Like you said, it's maybe only a 30-some minute drive, but once you throw the traffic into it, what's the point? I mean, hell, when last year when Dylan and I came down for the Sherwood
oh yeah,
farewell show, and we drove from we drove from Tampa over to, because we crashed with our friend Scott, who
Yeah.
you met. We drove from Tampa down to St. Pete to meet you guys and watch you jam in the jam room, and which was I mean, honestly, the best part of that trip was that time hanging out with you guys in the jam room. That was so fucking fun.
Yeah, we played
Such a
face to
great day.
face.
But like that drive was the shits. I mean, that drive from Tampa to St. Pete,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it took us probably because of traffic, it took us about 50 minutes. It was pretty,
Well,
but
you
it
are.
wasn't a very fun drive.
I'm pretty sure though that Scott lives in Lakeland,
Um, yeah,
doesn't he?
yes, yeah, Lakeland.
Lakeland is actually much further than Tampa.
Yeah, we didn't leave Scott's house and drive though.
Uh,
We drove from Scott's house in Lakeland to Brett from Sherwood at the time
uh,
had he still has a guitar store, but it's been relocated to somewhere else.
Dade
His,
City.
wherever his guitar store was,
Yeah.
we drove from there straight to your all's spot.
Well, that dude, that's in Dade City. That's way
Date City.
further than Tampa.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So
That,
we had a long drive.
yeah, that's a long drive. Dade City's way up there, man. So I mean, it's like an hour and a half, but
Yeah.
from Tampa to St. Pete, dude, literally from my house to Hooch and Hive, if there was no traffic, it's probably 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But the
So it
traffic,
really is close.
it's pretty close, but with the traffic, it adds 20, 25 more minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you got to go downtown, and the Hooch is in a pretty. It's like by the University of Tampa, by like Hyde Park, and so it's in a pretty. It's in a cool area. It's a
Yeah.
cool place. You'll love it. It's awesome. And Cage got like a concert venue sound system now.
Awesome.
Shit, dude. I was talking to Eric today because Eric's my old bass player is the brewer there, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that. But
Yeah.
dude, he's like, you guys are gonna play on the best sound system you've ever played on.
That's
And I'm
great.
killer, man. But dude, that sound system we played on at with the Pie Tasters a week from Sunday ago, man, holy shit, that might have been the best sound system we've ever played on because they paid a sound guy. And I said to the girl, oh, it was like $150. She's like, no, way more. I'm like, oh shit. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it was, dude. It was amazing, man. I think you probably saw some of the videos. I put a lot of the videos on Instagram.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time, man. I'm hoping people, come out because God, people get lazy sometimes, but
Yeah.
sometimes we play Cage, dude, and it's packed, and sometimes we play and it's like, yeah, it's all right. But
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time no matter what.
oh
Then
yeah, for sure.
like you said, we're gonna wrap it up there in fucking Ocala at Mutiny,
Yeah,
and Mutiny is gonna be cool. It's a pirate themed bar, as you
that's
can
rad.
tell by the name.
Yeah,
Supposedly the aesthetic is super fucking fun and very pirate themed. It's like a punk rock pirate themed bar.
that's
So
awesome.
it's
I've
like,
only heard good things, by the way.
yeah. Before we wrap up here, I always end the episodes with two questions.
Uh-huh.
So first question is the one that I like to ask the most. I really love because I get really interesting answers, and I've never had the same answer, and I kind of love it. So
Uh-huh.
I'm really interested to hear your response to this.
Yeah,
What is your gateway to punk rock?
that's a good question. I actually thought about this the other day. So it's got to be Jim from the I Want to Guess. He's one of my best friends. He's the drummer. I used to listen to. I'll never forget this. By the way, it's funny you asked that. I used to. My mom would always sing. She was in the chorale. She would always sing in the car, and all I knew was like radio music. Then I got a little older, and I was like Duran Duran, Michael Jackson, Prince, and then I started getting into like radio rock, like Kiss, and I loved all that shit, like Poison and Motley Crue and all that stuff. And then I remember one time I'm talking to Jim, and I don't know how he got into punk rock, but he was the first one. And I was talking about I want to get that new Kiss album. It was like Lick It Up or something. And he's like, "Really, man? You want to get that album?" And I thought about it. I was like, I don't know, do I or do I just know it because it's on the radio? I was like, I don't really know. And I believe the first album he gave me, we had I had a tape player and a Plymouth Horizon, and it was I think it was Dag Nasty, Wig Out of Denko's, and Bad Religion, Against the Grain, or No Control, one of those. And I was like, that was it. I was like, this. Oh, also, that's not true, man. Before I got into punk, I liked metal. And I'd go take guitar lessons and just try to learn Metallica. and Slayer and Megadeth and Anthrax. And then I loved that. I was a huge metalhead. I had long hair like down to the middle of my back, wearing like Overkill shirts, and Testament shirts. And like I went to Seminole High School, so like I was kind of an outcast. And then they called me a freak, freak out smoking cigarettes on the corner. And then and then I met Jim, and he was like, dude. And once I heard Bad Religion and Dag Nasty, that was it. That was it. I was like, this. And it was almost like, dude, this is what I had been looking for. I don't know how to, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like when I heard like a Modern Man, it's like Modern Man. I was like, what is this? And Dag Nasty, man, we got a Denko's, and then I got Can I Say, with Dave Smalley, and then I just started buying every Bad Religion album. And then it was Pennywise, and I was like, oh, this is it, this is it,
Yeah.
and that was it, man. And I think it was just Jim, man. He was just like, listen to this instead of the new Kiss album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The new Aerosmith, because I was just listening to the radio. I didn't know any better. And Jim's a little older, like a year and a half, so he was just ahead of his time, man. And listening to punk rock, and I was like, this is it. And so that's it.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
That's so yeah, I mean it seems like you right friend, right time.
Yeah. And then I played with him too, we played together a little bit. So, and that's how I met Eric, by the way. Eric was the bass player for the I Want to Guess before they moved to California. And I stayed friends with them. So when I went to Gainesville to college, I had a band up there with Dave Myers, the bass player Slinky. We
Mm-hmm.
had a band up there called Reddington, which is just the name of a town that I grew up in over here. And then when I came back, I sought out Eric to start a band. And Eric and I were in like 5 bands together
Wow.
before he finally retired about a year ago or 6 months ago. He retired. He's making music at home though, but he doesn't want to like, be in a band and play shows and stuff, which I get that.
I blame it on his height. He's too tall.
He is very tall. He's like 6'9". And I think it makes everything uncomfortable, man.
He's a tall motherfucker.
Yeah, man. 6'9" is tall, dude.
I just love that for the longest time I didn't know he was tall because the only thing I knew of you guys before I met you in person were pictures and videos.
Yeah.
And somehow like that promo picture that you guys ran with for like a year.
Yeah.
Eric was like shorter than like because of the juxtaposition of how you guys were standing.
Chad and I got on a hill on purpose so that we were just taller than Eric for the first time.
So fucking funny that I met Eric that day in St. Pete. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I thought he was going to be short. This guy's a fucking giant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Eric's the best, man. He's cool as shit.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Chad, you guys were so welcoming. And I mean, Chad was like, hey man, jump behind my kit, jam some songs. And Dylan grabbed your guitar. And
cool, yeah.
Yeah, great
we got
guy.
Along good, man. Like I said, the only reason they're not playing is because they just don't want to travel all around like I'm doing, like a grown-ass man driving to Knoxville, Tennessee, And I get it. Chad also has younger kids. Like he has a real job and younger kids. I don't have any kids, and I have tons of vacation time. So no hard feelings between any of us.
That's where I'm at too, man. It's like you're a lot like me. I have a job where I make my own schedule. I work when I want. I don't work when I don't want to work, and I have no kids. And my only tie-ups, like, dude, I'd be way busier if I didn't have health problems. Yeah. Only thing holding me back is my health. Once I get this shit tackled, I'm going to take over the fucking world. Just unfortunate, I'll be in my mid-40s by the time that rolls around. But hey,
that's when I got started, dude.
Ain't dead yet, motherfuckers.
That's right, man. Hell yeah.
All right. So the last question I'm going to ask here before we wrap up is, as you know, this is called the Oh Hell Yeah podcast. I am personally a lifelong pro wrestling fan, and I named the podcast Oh Hell Yeah for 2 reasons. One is that I like to, it's kind of like my go-to. If somebody says to me, that was a great show. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I'm also, a huge Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. So I kind of ripped off Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
So being the case, the question I like to ask people is, if you're a pro wrestling fan, what wrestler built your fandom? What one wrestler is the one you can say that this is the guy that made me go, oh, this is going to be something I'm going to watch on TV every week?
Well, when I was young, now you got to remember, man, like, remember I told you I had a band named Reddington?
Yeah.
In Gainesville? And I grew up in Reddington on the water. and Hulk Hogan lived around the corner.
Yeah.
And so it had to be Hulk Hogan because my dad and I would be driving by, dude, and I would see Hulk Hogan walking out. And dude, he had a white Stingray Corvette with T-tops. He
Oh
was
shit.
wearing a white leather vest, leather pantsuit, walking out. He was a giant, you know. And my dad would be like, "There's Hulk Hogan." And my dad hated wrestling. He'd say, "That's fake. That's stupid." But I loved it. So, dude, it was for me. It was like, you know, I know he's like the biggest wrestler of all time, but dude, that was me. And but I also loved the Ultimate Warrior. You know, when he'd come
Yeah.
out, you know, just act like a madman. Yeah, I love the Ultimate. I like the Road Warriors, but yeah, I mean, if you're asking me why I liked wrestling as a kid, because I loved it as a kid. My
Yeah.
best friend Kurt, by the way, is still a big wrestling fan. We still mess with him because he loves it still. But yeah, it had to be Hulk Hogan because it was Hulk Hogan, man. Oh, and Andre the Giant. Like, remember the battles? I mean, do you remember when he slammed Andre the Giant? You know, like I
Oh
was
yeah.
a kid and I was like, to me, that was like the biggest thing ever, dude. I remember One
Yeah.
Man Gang and King Kong Bundy, and man, I loved all that old stuff, dude.
Yeah. Growing up where you grew up and knowing what I know now about wrestling culture, I bet you guys couldn't fucking walk out of your house without seeing a pro wrestler walking around town.
Well, there's a lot of them in Clearwater and Tampa and the beaches. Like when I was young, we would go to man, I think it was Lakeland, dude. And you remember Gordon Soley at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's where they would film that. And my dad would, you know, he would let like my dad hated wrestling because he was like, it's stupid. But he had a buddy that would take me sometimes. And I remember seeing the Killer Bees, Brian Blair and
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes and
B. Brian Blair.
Brian Blair, yeah, and then
Yeah.
his brother or something, the Killer
Yeah.
Bees. Dusty Rhodes one time was there when I was there. I think even the Ric Flair might have been there once. And I didn't go a lot, but I went a few times and it was hilarious, man. One time when I lived in Gainesville, I was probably like 24, 25. We went to Monday Night Raw at the O'Connell Center. And it was Ric Flair came out and he must have been hammered and he brought down to his boxers and he was just wearing Gators boxers. You know, he's like, woo, go Gators. And he's like, I'm taking everybody across the street to a swamp and I'm buying everybody a beer. So we went over there, dude. And sure enough, dude, he was buying everybody beers at the
That's
swamp.
amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing, dude. And Goldberg was there and he came out and like speared him. And it was when, oh, dude, I know you probably saw it. It was the one where they said Ric Flair had a heart attack and
Yeah.
they took him away in a stretcher. I was there for that, dude.
That's fucking
Hilarious.
sick.
Yeah, dude. Hilarious.
Man,
So fun though.
I told Jimbo this last on the episode that I did recently with Jim from the No Loves.
Uh-huh.
I told Jimbo about us coming to Florida, and I mean, there's many things that I want to accomplish on
Mm-hmm.
this trip to Florida next week, but I truly want to go to Hulk Hogan's beach shop,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think it's in Tampa.
Oh,
Am
it's
I
in
right?
Clearwater Beach. Clearwater Beach.
How far? How far out of the way is that
Oh,
from
dude,
where
I
we're
can
going to
take
be?
it. It's not far from my house. Like if you guys come down, and my house is small, so you might want to split up, but you could crash at my house, so somebody can, or you can, and then I'll take you down there the next day before we go to Tampa, if you really want to go.
So, have you ever been there?
No, but I've walked by it.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
just think it'd be cool to like just go there and take pictures and just at
dude, he's
least say
there a
I've been
lot.
there. And I'm a huge wrestling fan because I know I'm going to see some cool shit. And I mean, go in there and buy a beer at Hulk Hogan's Beach Shop. Maybe meet Jimmy Hart because Jimmy Hart supposedly is just always there.
They're both there a lot.
Yeah, like if we fucking go down there and Hulk Hogan's there, I'm going to wig out, dude.
Dude, I got to tell you something funny. Like living here where he lives, I've run into Hulk Hogan 20 times in my life.
Really?
At this there's a health food store. Like I haven't seen him in a while. I don't know if he's still around, but there's a health food store. I always go to like the health food store groceries place. You know, it's like a Whole Foods, but it's just in
Yeah,
Clearwater.
yeah.
And dude, I've seen him there like 5 times. Like he's
Wow.
always, and you can eat there. You can buy food and eat there. And
Yeah,
I'll see him eating in there, and people. It's so funny because he's been here for so long. People don't even bother him. You know,
yeah,
he just walks in. He's Hulk Hogan. He's still a giant. You know,
yeah.
he's just walking around. No one's bothering him. I'm like, and it's funny because at one time he was the most famous person in the world. I would say
Oh, for sure.
for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can walk around Clearwater. People don't bother him.
I appreciate you sitting down with me. This was a great chat.
Hell yeah, man.
And I am really stoked about next week. It seems like it's never going to get here, but hell, we're just now what 9 days away from the start of tour.
Yeah, you're not too far away.
Yeah,
Tuesday, so it's a week and 2 days for you. And
yeah,
then heading to
yeah,
Gainesville, Georgia.
yeah. It's gonna be a good time. We're all excited, and
Hell yeah, man. I
uh,
can't wait.
we're gonna come down there and we're gonna kick some ass, and we're gonna sell some merch, or possibly not sell some merch. We're gonna play good music, and we're gonna have a good time. That's a guarantee.
Hell yeah. Some
So
people
if
have a good
you're
time.
if you're listening slash watching this podcast right now, and it's prior to Thursday, November whatever 16th, 17th is
16, yeah, 17th is St. Pete, so 16th is
yeah.
your first show.
So if you're listening to this episode when it drops, if you're in Florida, make sure to check out these shows. So November 17th in St. Pete, November 18th in Tampa, November 19th in Ocala. Uh, four fucking great bands on each show, and we're gonna have a great time. So make it out and let's party.
Hell yeah, man.
Oh hell yeah! Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you being on here. I love you, dude.
Yeah, man. Back at you, brother. I'll see you on Friday the 17th.
Sounds great.